All right, one final story now with Stephen. Now, I thought that being a millionaire was pretty good, but apparently sometimes even millionaires aren't quite rich enough.
No, and this is coming from the bank JP Morgan. It's decided to cull customers from its private bank simply because they're not rich enough. The lender has recently doubled the minimum investment to $10 million. Now, this is a cost-cutting move, according to the Wall Street Journal. This is as low interest rates have hurt bank earnings. But it's a move that's expected to affect many of the top lawyers in New York. Apparently, many of them were allowed to access these private banking services, even if they didn't quite meet the 5 million minimum requirement. But now JP Morgan's getting tough and telling them they're simply not rich enough.
All right, so sling your golden diamond encrusted hook, I guess, is the message. Thanks very much, Stephen, our business editor, joining us there. We're going to move on now with a look through the international papers with Catherine Viette. Hello there. And we're going to look at two pretty prominent figures that we talk about quite a lot in the news. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump. They were both on American TV for 30 minutes each last night.
Yes, it's being seen, the forum has been seen as a dry run ahead of presidential debates scheduled later this month. Now, the New York Times reporting that during this forum, Hillary Clinton faced tougher questioning than Donald Trump. At times, she seemed kind of stilted in her response, but she was more specific in laying out all of her proposals. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, he came across more at ease, according to the paper. However, he continued his blunt statements without providing too many details and declined to offer specifics on any of his plans that he was talking about. The Washington Post, too, reporting on this forum, reporting on the event's highs and lows, and again also felt that Clinton appeared stilted at times, sometimes awkward when she was answering tough questions about her private email server. That's an issue that's dogged her campaign. While Trump, on his hand, he reaffirmed support for Russian President Vladimir Putin, saying that he thinks he would have a very good relationship with Russia. Now, the event was held at the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum. The audience made up of serving active duty and military veterans, and that's a group that traditionally skews Republican. And the paper reporting that recent polls show that Trump is actually leading Clinton by 19 points, 55 to 36% among voters who are currently serving or who have served in the military.
I suppose it's an interesting one for Hillary Clinton, isn't it? And probably a problem she's going to face in future. She actually has a record of being in office and having to make decisions about national security. So that's an advantage, but also a disadvantage because she has to defend that record. Donald Trump, however, he seemed to have posed problems for the guy actually posing the questions.
Yes, it's sort of interesting, the media reporting on this now. Matt Lauer, he was the journalist who was interviewing both candidates. He's a reporter for NBC News. And Politico is reporting that he kind of dropped the ball here when it came to Donald Trump. In fact, he didn't press him on claims that Donald Trump said he had never supported the Iraq war back in 2002. Now, Hillary Clinton did vote for it. She said she did. She also said Trump did. They've both since switched positions, said it was a mistake. But now Trump is saying that he had never, ever been in support of it. Now, other news outlets jumped right on this, did their fact checks, including NBC, Lauer's own network, and they said this is a false claim. In fact, Trump really did support the Iraq war back in 2002. And New York Times reporter Nick Kristof writing in response to this that the forum was an embarrassment to journalism.
Oh dear. Well, one political website, Daily Kos, is taking it a step further.
Yes, I absolutely love their headline. It really made me chuckle when I saw this. It says, "Questions on a curve. Matt Lauer may as well have asked Trump about his summer vacation." So that tells you about the level of questioning they felt that Lauer brought to the interview with Donald Trump. Now, as it mentioned earlier, both the Times and the New York Times and the Washington Post felt that Hillary Clinton did get the harder questions. And here, the Daily Kos lays it out, compares Lauer's open-ended questioning to Trump is something that a third grader would be asked. And the example here is that, what has prepared you to be commander-in-chief to why do you want to be president one day? And says that this is in contrast to Lauer's pounding away of Clinton and her emails in his very first question to her. Says that none of the questions Lauer asked tested Trump's knowledge of intricate foreign policy, and that Lauer didn't try to nail Trump down on any specifics or hold his feet to the fire on any of Trump's flip-flops.
To be fair, it has been hard to nail Donald Trump down in the past, hasn't it? So maybe we should be a bit more forgiving. Who knows? I'm sure we'll have plenty more opportunities to see how Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton perform. Moving on to an event that is the kind of thing either of those people might end up having to deal with if they become president, an East Asian Nations Summit that's just been riddled with tensions between the different people attending.
Right, yes. The whole trip sort of exposed some cracks in the diplomacy in the region over there. Now, today the summit wraps up, and the Asia edition of the Wall Street Journal on its front page says that this trip is a test to U.S. power. And it says that, there are concerns as Obama wraps up his final term that the U.S. is losing its ability to shape events in Asia. And now Obama made a pivot to Asia, one of his big parts of his foreign policy. And he sought to negotiate with China while also countering China's growing influence in the region. The paper's editorial section says the next U.S. president is going to have his or her work cut out for them, that the Democratic allies in the region can be fickle, as national interests sometimes trump foreign policy, and the U.S. has limited flexibility to execute Asia policy without all its allies on board.
All right, the kind of thing that Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton should be paying close attention to, I'm sure. Thanks very much, Catherine Viette there, rounding up some of the top stories in the international papers for us. Time for a short break now here on Live from Paris. When we're back, we'll have more news, plus in focus, our correspondents are in the Mexican state that's one of the most dangerous places in the world for journalists.